Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. We're going to be making a t-shirt that would be a perfect gift for Father's Day or any time of the year gift. You're going to need 2 t-shirts to do this, so let's get started. So the first thing we have to do is make our pattern for the pocket. So I've made a square that is 8 inches high by 14.5 inches wide. And then from that I measured up 3 inches and put a mark on each side. And then at the top, I measured in 3.5 inches and left a mark on each side. Then I drew a line from there to there, so that will be the angle for the pockets. And then all the way around the edge, I added a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we're going to cut around the dotted line that I put here. So now I'm going to cut it out on the second piece of fabric, and be mindful that we have to make sure that we're cutting it straight across and not on an angle like this. It's a knit fabric and we want it to stretch properly. So now that we've cut out the pocket, I'm at the ironing board now and put the fabric face up, like face down. The right side is down and the inside is up. And we're going to start with the pocket holes. And we're going to press in a 1/2 inch seam. And if you don't have one of these measuring tools, what you can do is get a file folder or something with a stiffer paper and cut out a 1/2 inch strip, and then just use that for a guide to make your 1/2 inch seam, and just press down. So now that we have that creased, we're going to get a piece of, this is like a hem tape, and you iron it in. And it makes a nice, this helps when you're sewing with a stretchy fabric like t-shirt material. It helps it to be a lot more stable when you're sewing, and it won't stretch. So now that we've pressed in both of these sides, we're going to sew them up. And right now I'm changing my machine. I'm just going to move the camera a bit so you could see. So I'm going to be using a twin needle for this. It does a nice stitch, and your fabric can still stretch after you've sewn it. If you don't have a twin needle, use a jersey needle, one that's meant for sewing with stretchy fabric. And also don't use a straight stitch, because that will stop it from being able to stretch afterwards. So what I've done is, if this is your first time ever using a twin needle, you need to put in 2 spools of thread up on top. If you don't have an extra holder, like I have an attachment for an extra thread, if you don't, just sit it on your bobbin thing here. And then what you do is, I didn't have 2 spools of the same color, so I just wound a bobbin. And so right now I'm just going to take both the threads and thread it through as if I would one single thread. So now that I've gotten to the bottom here, I'm just going to thread each needle. So now that I have the needles threaded, you'll have to let your machine know that you're using 2 needles. Usually there's something up on your machine that will that you push or whatever to show that you're using 2 needles, because it does a different type of stitch. And also when you're sewing with 2 needles, the good side is on the outside. So typically we like to sew with the inside out to show where we're sewing, but with this we have to sew with the outside up. But we do know that we have a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so we're going to put that there and it'll cover both sides. And don't stretch your fabric as you're sewing. And the back looks like this, and it can still stretch. So it's really easy, and it gives it a nice professional finish. So now that we're done sewing up these sides, we're going to prepare all the other sides that are left the same way. So now that we're done preparing all the edges, we're going to pin it to the shirt. I've marked the center of the shirt. I'm doing this near the bottom. There is no exact measurement for up or down or whatever. It's all up to you where you think it should be, because all shirts are made different and there's all different sizes. So I'm just going to put it at the bottom here like this. And just place the center there, make sure it's straight across, and pin it. Of course, making sure you don't pin through both sides. So now that we're done pinning it, we're going to sew it along the bottom, along the sides, and along the top. So now there's a handy pocket in the front of the shirt. We're not done yet. I'm going to be embroidering something right here. I just marked where I'm going to put it on the shirt, and I'm going to put it in the hoop. I think I mentioned before in another video that I like to pin everything in instead of hooping it the other way. I find it's easier to control where it's going to go, and also I don't risk stretching out the fabric. So I've personalized it with some embroidery. If you don't have an embroidery machine, maybe you can add some screen printing or even use some fabric paint or something to make it more personalized. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.